The most dangerous person in your life is not the one who fights you openly. It is not the one who insults you in public or challenges you directly. The most dangerous person is the one sitting next to you right now, smiling, nodding, and telling you that you are incredible. Because the people who want to bring you down have long figured out that confrontation is inefficient. It creates resistance. It makes you defensive. It makes you fight back. So the intelligent ones stop doing it that way entirely. Instead, they developed 3 methods that work without leaving fingerprints. Methods that feel like support while they are actually dismantling you from the inside. By the time you realize what happened, you are already at the bottom, and the person who put you there is standing above you, pretending to feel sorry. This video is going to expose all 3 methods in detail, and once you understand how they work, nobody will ever be able to run them on you again. This is the most elegant form of sabotage ever designed, and it works because it exploits one of the most fundamental human needs, which is the need to feel recognized. Here is how it operates in real life. Imagine you are working on a project and a colleague starts praising everything you do. Not occasionally, constantly. Every idea you have is brilliant. Every contribution you make is exceptional. You have more talent than anyone they have seen in years. At first, it feels like finally someone sees you. But something subtle is happening underneath that praise. Your self-assessment is being inflated beyond what reality can support. Psychologists call this strategic flattery, and research in organizational behavior confirms it is one of the most effective tools for eliminating competition without direct conflict. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote nearly 2,000 years ago that excessive praise is the prelude to betrayal. He was right, because what your colleague is actually doing is inflating your confidence just enough to make you reach for something beyond your current capability. They volunteer you for the impossible project. They encourage you to take on responsibilities your skills cannot yet carry. And when you inevitably fail, they are nowhere near the explosion. They are across the room looking surprised and sympathetic. The praise was never about you. It was architecture. They were building a platform high enough that the fall would be devastating. How do you protect yourself from this? When someone praises you in a way that feels disproportionate to what you actually did, stop. Do not absorb it immediately. Ask yourself 3 questions. What specifically are they praising? What decision are they trying to influence with this praise? And what happens to them if I follow where this praise is leading? Real recognition is specific and proportional. Flattery is vague and unlimited. Learn the difference before the platform gets too high. This method requires patience and a particular kind of social intelligence that most people underestimate in others. It is called triangulation, and it is one of the most studied manipulation tactics in social psychology. Here is the architecture of it. The person targeting you never attacks your relationship with someone directly. Instead, they become the trusted messenger between you and everyone around you. They come to you privately and say they heard something concerning. A friend said something behind your back. A coworker made a comment about your work that you should probably know about. They deliver this information with manufactured empathy. They say they only told you because they care about you. They make sure to add that you should not mention where you heard it. Then they walk across the room and do the exact same thing in reverse. they tell the other person that you said something, they plant the same seed of doubt from the opposite direction. What makes this method so effective is that it uses real human psychology against you. The brain is wired to protect itself from perceived threats. When someone tells you a trusted person said something negative about you, your nervous system responds before your logic has a chance to evaluate the source. You feel a shift in how you see that person. Small moments that were previously neutral now look suspicious. The relationship starts to erode from the inside. A landmark study by social psychologist Robin Dunbar found that approximately 65% of all human conversation involves social information about others, what people call gossip. This is the exact vulnerability that triangulators exploit. They understand that information delivered privately and wrapped in loyalty feels credible, regardless of whether it is true. The defense against this is one of the simplest rules in human relationships. Never act on secondhand information about a person without going directly to that person first. Not to confront, just to have a real conversation. The moment you bypass the messenger and speak directly, the entire manipulation collapses. Triangulators cannot operate in direct sunlight. This is the slowest of the three methods, and it is the one most people never identify as an attack because it is so normalized in everyday life. It begins with a simple statement. Have you seen what so-and-so accomplished? Or did you notice how easily that person handled what you struggled with? Or imagine if you had their discipline. Where would you be right now? On the surface, this sounds like motivation. But the consistent application of these comparisons over time is one of the most effective tools for psychological erosion that exists. Carol Dweck at Stanford University spent decades studying how comparison affects human identity and performance. Her research showed that when people are consistently measured against external standards rather than their own growth, two things happen. Their intrinsic motivation collapses, and their identity becomes entirely dependent on how they measure against others, which means it is permanently unstable. The person using comparison against you understands this, even if they cannot name the research behind it. They are not trying to inspire you. They are trying to make you feel like your baseline is inadequate. And here is the most insidious part. Over time, you start doing their work for them. You begin comparing yourself automatically. You start shrinking in rooms where you used to stand confidently. You start editing your ambitions to fit a smaller frame. You start believing that you are fundamentally behind and that no amount of effort will close the gap. That belief, once installed, is extraordinarily hard to remove. The protection against comparison as a weapon is understanding that your trajectory is the only metric that has any relevance to your life. A person who ran their first mile last year and now runs 5 is making more meaningful progress than someone who has run marathons for a decade and improved by 30 seconds. Growth is only visible against your own history. The moment you accept someone else's standard as the measure of your worth, you have handed them the ability to define you, and they will define you as lacking every time, without exception. There is a single thread that runs through all three of these methods, and it is worth naming directly. None of them require the person using them to ever say anything overtly negative about you. No insults, no threats, no visible hostility. This is why they are so effective and why most people never identify them until significant damage has already been done. Research in social cognition shows that humans are wired to scan for direct threats. We notice raised voices, obvious criticism, open conflict. We are much less equipped to detect slow, patient, friendly-looking destruction. The people who master these methods understand this asymmetry completely. They operate in the blind spot of your threat detection system. The best protection is not paranoia. It is pattern recognition. Start noticing whether praise consistently leads you toward overreach. Start noticing whether certain people consistently bring you negative information about others. Start noticing whether comparisons come from specific people at specific moments. Patterns reveal intent when individual incidents look innocent. Trust your observations more than you trust reassurances. The people who want to take you down are counting on your good nature to explain away what you are seeing. Do not give them that. If this video made you think of a specific person in your life, drop a 1, 2, or 3 in the comments. The number of the method they have used on you. No names needed, just the number.